Hi, friends. Welcome to today's Flipgrid Live Event. My name is Apurva, and I'm a 17-year-old student with the Knowledge Society, a program developed by CEOs and global leaders to cultivate the next generations of innovators and entrepreneurs around the world. Now, today, we're joined by Katie, Director of Education at the Parthenon in Nashville, Tennessee, in the United States. But before we get started, let me just say that if you don't know what Flipgrid is, it's a free video discussion platform from Microsoft. And we're on a mission to empower everyone on the planet to share their voice and respect the diverse voices of others. And that's why we're so excited about today's event. Now, the Parthenon is in Nashville, Tennessee, and is the world's only exact size and detail replica of the original temple in Athens, Greece. Everyone, we are taking a trip back in time to learn all about ancient Greece, explore ancient architecture, and hear incredible tales of Greek mythology. So with that, let's meet Katie. Hi, Katie.
Hi, thank you for that introduction, Apurva. I'm so excited to be joining all of you today. Let me see where you're all coming from. Thanks for sharing that. I see some friends from Charlotte, North Carolina, from Boston. Hi, everybody. It looks like we have students joining from all over. Today, I'm going to show you the Nashville Parthenon, everything from its history, its architecture, to Greek mythology, and even a secret that people do not know about ancient Greece. Then we'll take a selfie together, and I'm going to invite Apurva back to help ask some of your questions. So be sure to submit them in the Q&A on the side of your screen. So let's get ready to get started. I'm going to be sharing my screen with you all. All right, I believe you should be sharing my screen here. Let me just make sure I've got it all set up perfectly. Wonderful. All right, welcome everybody to the Nashville Parthenon. My name is Katie, as my friend Apurva said. Today, we will be learning about ancient Greece. We'll be learning about Nashville Parthenon, its architecture, a new word called polychromy, and Greek mythology. So anytime you see one of these pictures on the screen, you'll know what we're talking about. These pictures will show up all throughout. Now, maybe you can find where you are on the map. I know we have friends from the East Coast so far. So take a look where the Parthenon in Nashville is, right here in Tennessee, and see if you can find where the Parthenon in Greece is, all the way over here. We're traveling from wherever you are to Greece today because we're going to be talking about Parthenon. This is what it looks like today. The Parthenon was first built about 2,500 years ago in Athens in ancient Greece. And it was a temple to the Greek goddess Athena. I'll show you an Athena today. So it's one of the biggest temples on the highest hill of the ancient city. Now you might be wondering, that's great, but why is there a Parthenon in Athens or in Nashville? So back in 1897, the people of Tennessee were celebrating their 100th anniversary as a state. And this big celebration, the Tennessee Centennial Exposition, was held right here in Nashville. And the people of Nashville decided to build a Parthenon. At that time, the city was known as the Athens of the South, thanks to all the education and educational initiatives in the city over 125 years ago. So they built a Parthenon in the middle of Nashville, in the middle of this large centennial celebration. And the people of Nashville loved it so much that we decided to make this temporary building permanent. If you come to Nashville today, you will see this Parthenon. You will see a large structure just like someone 2,500 years ago would have seen. Isn't that incredible? So one thing we love to do is to share about ancient architecture. So I've highlighted a couple terms here. And in fact, what I think is amazing, these architectural features are so popular, you might even have them on your house. You might see them in your neighborhood. If you've ever seen a building that has a triangle on the top, you've seen a pediment. Check out this pediment on the Parthenon. It has fancy sculptures, and these sculptures tell a story. We'll talk about that story in a minute. There's a section here. If you're an archaeologist, you'll use this section called the entablature. You'll use that term a lot to describe that middle section. And then we have columns as well. Their job is to support the roof and the structure above it. Maybe your school has columns on the outside or on the inside. So this is a common architectural feature. The Parthenon has it and buildings today. What is so special about these three parts here is that they often are made up of really kind of common shapes, a triangle, a rectangle, some straight lines. But believe it or not, there are no straight lines in our Parthenon. Every horizontal or vertical line you're seeing is slightly curved. So the Parthenon was built with optical illusions, things that were designed 2,500 years ago to trick our round human eyeballs even to this day. So if you love ancient Greece, this is one of my favorite fun facts, that the Parthenon had optical illusions. Before I talk about some of the mythology, I want to share a secret, this word called polychromy. It is one of the best kept secrets in archaeology, the fact that ancient Greek buildings like the Parthenon and statues had color. I want to show you some examples to really get your brain thinking here. So here's the Parthenon in ancient Greece, and here's what it would have looked like if we were alive and in Athens and walking up to it just a couple thousand years ago. Here's another example of some sculpture. This is a statue of an archer, someone shooting a bow and arrow. And I want you to imagine, this is what we see today, but what do you think this statue looked like with color 2,500 years ago? Ready? Get a little drum roll going. Boom. This statue would have been brightly painted. And we know this thanks to really cool new technologies that we use to study ancient sculptures. So one thing that's also really neat, check out the pants on this archer. I have a set of those pants right here with me. So I'm going to be, when we take our selfie, I'm going to be holding these pants up so you can remember them because they are pretty fascinating. Here's another example as well. This is a statue of a young girl. It's about 100 years older than the Parthenon itself. Now you might notice some traces of color, maybe on her hair or her dress. Now start to imagine what would this look like with color. Are you ready? Wow, it looks so lifelike. It looks incredibly different. And what's really fun about our Parthenon here in Nashville is we have a statue of Athena that is in color. When it first debuted in 1990, our statue of Athena Parthenos did not have color. It did have some gold, but we couldn't finish it all the way with color at the time. So maybe you've seen white statues like this before. You've seen statues or buildings that don't have color when you're studying ancient Greece. But thanks to discoveries of Greek archaeologists, we know that ancient structures and statues were full of color. So here is our colossal statue of Athena. I'll show you an example of this in the whole naos, the space where she lives. If you come to the Parthenon, this is inside the naos. Athena Parthenos is covered in about 8.5 pounds of gold leaf. So real gold covering the statue. And here she is in the naos. Check this out. Let's talk about Athena for a minute. I want to know, maybe you can chat with your class or your family. What sort of things is Athena in charge of? So take a minute. Maybe you can make some observations about the statue. Notice the symbol she's holding. What kind of things is Athena in charge of as a Greek goddess? Feel free to share, and we'll check out some of her details up close. So you might notice she has some armor and some weapons. She has a helmet, she has a spear, she has a shield. These are signs of her role as the Greek goddess of war. She's also the Greek goddess of wisdom, of strategy, of victory, and of arts and crafts and weaving. She's a really busy Greek goddess. One of my favorite stories is on her shield. This is a battle called an Amazonomachy, a battle of the Greek gods versus the Greeks versus the Amazons. And in this scene, the Amazons are defeated by the Athenians. You're seeing a battle scene. We've also got Medusa. Auntie Anne, if you know your Percy Jackson Greek mythology stories, Medusa is on Athena's armor. The statue has a miniature statue of Nike. Now, in her hand right up here, this Nike or Victory is 6 feet 4 inches tall. So if you know somebody, if you have a friend or a neighbor or a grown-up who's 6'4", imagine them right up there on Athena's hand. And the statue is made by Alan LaQuire. So here's him next to this colossal statue of Athena. I hope it gives you a sense of perspective that Athena Parthenos here at Nashville Parthenon is a huge statue, the largest indoor statue in the Western world. There's more mythology stories before we stop to answer some questions. We have a pediment, the west side, that features 2 main Greek gods here. We have Athena and Poseidon. And I've added some of their symbols to help you identify them. This is a story of a contest to become the main god of Athens. Poseidon gives the gift of some water to the city of Athens to try to convince them to pick him to be the main god. Athena gives the first olive tree, and she wins the contest to become the main god of Athens. What's neat is in this version, you can see the entire pediment. But when we're talking about archaeological evidence, the only parts that remain are down here. This is all that remains of this Athena, and this torso is all that remains of this statue of Poseidon. So we use the evidence that remains, as you can see on the lower shelf here, to try to create the full-scale version of the stories and mythology we see here at the Parthenon. The last mythology story is one of my favorites. You'll just have to believe me. The story goes that Zeus was afraid of a prophecy that he was going to have a child that overthrew him. So Zeus, who's seated right here in the middle, swallows Athena's mother when she was pregnant. He tricked her into turning into a fly. He swallows her, and instead of dying, that baby grows inside of Zeus until one day Zeus has a splitting headache, and his fellow god Hephaestus uses this axe to chop open Zeus's head. Out pops newborn baby Athena, and that is the scene you are looking at right here on the east pediment. So we see Athena right here. It doesn't look very newborn. She is born fully grown with all of her armor, including a spear, a shield, a helmet, and you're seeing a reaction of all the other Greek gods. So if you recognize names like Dionysus, Demeter, Persephone, Iris, Poseidon, Aphrodite, Hephaestus, Zeus, Nike, Athena, Ares, Artemis, Hera, Hermes, Apollo. These are all the main Greek gods here helping tell the story of how Athena was born. So we have a lot of mythology stories here at the Parthenon. And I want to make sure that we have time to answer questions and explore further. So Without further ado, Apurva, are you still with us here?
I am still here. Let's wait a second. There we are. We are seeing some amazing questions come into the chat because of what an amazing presentation that was. I learned so much about Athena. So make sure you keep the questions coming. But before we get to those, let's take a selfie with Katie. I'll give you guys a little bit of time to set up. And while you do, make sure that you share these photos with us on social. We love to see them. You can tag us at Flipgrid, and you should be sure to tag at Nash Parthenon too. All right, so make sure everyone is fitting into the picture, and then we will do it. All right, is everyone ready? Let's do it. 3, 2, 1, say Greece.
Greece.
All right, hopefully we got a good picture. Again, make sure to tag us when you post them using at Nash Parthenon and at Flipgrid. All right, now let's get to your questions finally. So our first question is, Katie, which Greek god is your favorite?
Oh, all right. This is one of my favorite questions. There are so many Greek gods to choose from. However, my favorite is one whose name is Asclepius. If you've never heard of Asclepius, that's okay. I hadn't either until I really started studying Greek archaeology and ancient Greek history. He's a healer god. He's the god of health and medicine. And everyone knows, especially these days, that's one of the most important things. And there's sanctuaries and temples to him all over the ancient Mediterranean world. So he's my favorite, Asclepius.
That is so cool. I actually had never heard of him before, so I will be looking him up after this. The second question we have is, are there any new discoveries that they're still finding?
Oh, that's a great question. Yes, ancient Greece and the people who lived in the past, there's still so much more to learn. I have friends who are studying the tiniest little details. They're using new technology to look at old discoveries and rethink what we're learning about the past. So if you are someone who loves history, who loves making discoveries, there is so many things I feel like we can still learn about the past. The color example and thinking about the ancient world in color is one of my favorite new discoveries within the past 5-10 years that we're really being able to kind of rethink what we know about ancient Greece. So yes, there's still so much more to learn and so much more to discover about life in ancient Greece.
That is so cool. So for anyone watching, if you would like to be a detective, I think this is a potential future job for you. And our last question from Casa3 Eat on School, they're asking what we all want to know, which is, where did you get those pants?
These pants are a find, believe it or not, on Etsy. We make a lot of educational resources here at the Parthenon, but I would never have been able to make these pants. And trust me, my mind was blown when I saw that someone made the pants from this ancient archer. How amazing. I love it.
That is so fun. We should all make sure we order that after this. So we're getting a lot of questions about touring the Parthenon, and that's great. But before we get to that, Katie, can you let parents and educators know what to expect when they use topics from your Discovery Library page?
Yes, our Discovery Library page for the Nashville Parthenon, we have resources and videos, everything from social studies and history. We have classes where you can draw along using math and grids to create your very own image of our Athena statue. And we have all kinds of behind the scenes content as well. So if you like architecture, mythology, and art, our Discovery Library is a place that has something for everyone.
That is so cool. Now, let me show you how to find today's Flipgrid group so that you can join the discussion right after today's event. All you have to do is head to flipgrid.com/Nashville Parthenon, and this will take you directly to today's Flipgrid group. Go ahead and click join, and once you're in, you'll see two topics. One that allows you to ask Katie any questions that weren't answered during today's event, and the other is a 3D tour of the Parthenon. Once you finish the tour, you can respond with a video sharing what your favorite part of the tour was. Remember, you can use this in your classroom immediately following today's event as a follow-up activity, and we'll post that link in the chat for you to copy and paste. Now, Katie, are there any final thoughts that you want to share with everyone watching?
Yes, I think if there's one thing I could share about, being someone who studies ancient Greece, it's that ancient Greece was a vibrant and colorful place. And when we think about the past differently, we think about statues and buildings and people in color. It really helps reflect the diversity of the ancient Mediterranean world, and it helps us maybe make some new connections and think about it as a place that's not so long ago and so different than us. Everyone loves a little color, and life is better in color. So thinking about ancient Greece as a colorful place is a great way to start.
That is so amazing. Thank you for those final words. All right, today has been so special. Thank you for spending this last half an hour with us. We're super grateful. And guess what, everyone? We have Flipgrid Live events every week. We have an incredible lineup and would love for you to join us as we learn together. You can head to aka.ms/Flipgrid Live events for more information and to register for upcoming events. Don't forget to check out today's Flipgrid group. It's live now at flipgrid.com/Nashville Parthenon. All right, guys, have a great day. Thank you so much for joining us for this past hour. We had so much fun. Bye.